And we'll go ahead and do that.
I'm back to the rain again now that Christmas is over.
All right. Well, welcome, everybody. We are so glad to have you
Hello,
on
hello.
this Friday, December 27th, 2024, the last Friday of 2024. And we are just really happy to have you with us. We're going to enjoy each other's company today on episode 35 of the podcast Unlimited Wisdom with Robert Hollis. I'm Craig A. Jackman along with Matthew Hollis, and we are just so glad to have you with us. Welcome, everybody. Just a couple of things before we get started. We want to thank you for joining us and taking the time out of your busy schedule. Please hit the subscribe button, which is down below, so that you get exactly what we want to, or I shouldn't say what we want to. It's up to you to join us, but so that you are notified whenever we do things like these podcasts or the Ask Me Anythings, which take place every single day. Or not every single day, Saturdays at noon Pacific. I've got something else in my ear, so I just had to turn it off. So there's that. And then also, gentlemen, congratulations. We have hit over 75,300 subscribers. We are one shy, at least as of last check, of 75,400 subscribers. And we got to give it out to each and every one of you watching, because thank you for sharing the messages that we bring to you and reaching out to those with ears that hear, because without you, we couldn't be doing this. And thank you so much for being part of the Unlimited Wisdom family, being an imaginator, a trade star, and being part of the Robert Hollis channel. So let's get started on this Unlimited Wisdom episode. Robert, Matt, welcome. Matt, you're muted.
Matt. That was good.
Yo, what's up?
There we are.
Hi, my son. Hi, Craig. Thank you very much for the introduction. I love that. There's not too many people that can do simultaneously two introductions, but I was hearing you twice, so that was pretty impressive.
It takes some concentration. I think, you know what, that goes back to my radio days, where it's like, okay, concentrate on one thing.
I've always seen people where you get these people, yeah, and I really enjoyed, Craig, watching your recording of It's a Wonderful Life. That was just, if you could, for people that didn't get a chance to see it, I'd love for you to post it underneath here so people can see.
Absolutely.
How Craig makes other people feel great. I just thought you're amazing. So I just wanted to to say that, and I always find it really, you can tell that you have to be focused because other people are talking at the same time in a kind of a discussion. But also when I see choirs, when you see like a choir and people are doing different stuff during the song, and it's like, you just got one person, a couple groups of people are then going pop, 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 pop. The rest of them are like,
Yeah.
I'm going like, there was a guy one time that I met that talked about how you can train your mind to do anything. And that's a perfect example. And he was a drummer, and he told everybody, he says, this is the only way that he'll teach them how to play drums. And he says, I want you to take two fingers and put them together. And he says, take one finger and go one direction, and take one finger and go the other direction. And he goes,
yeah.
and people can do it around their ears, like the patting the stomach and rubbing your head or whatever. But he said, if people won't practice looking at this, because both your feet are doing something different than both your hands when you're a drummer. And you think about that, and you're like going, one's on the cymbal while the other one is just doing whatever beat, and then your foot's doing a double beat or a triple beat. And it's like, wow, to have all four of your limbs doing different things at the same time is again, something to imagine and then to practice, and then you get that. So
funny you bring that up, because last night I went to go see some friends performing at Knott's Berry Farm in the wagon camp called Franklin Wall. It's a country band. And I was looking at the drummer, and that actually came up in my mind is, he's doing things with his hands up here, and then he's got both of his feet doing something else, one on the bass drum and then one on the hi-hat. And, he's actually even at the same time singing.
Oh my God.
So, and of course, for those of you who know, I mean, Phil Collins would do this.
Yeah.
Lead singer of Genesis after Peter Gabriel left. And it takes, or even actually somebody who plays piano, when you think about having to learn what the right hand is doing and what the left hand is doing. And they're
feet.
Completely independent of each
And
other.
your feet.
You almost have to, yeah, you got to split your head in several different modes in order to do it. And these people that do it, and if you look at, like you were saying, Robert, at a drummer, he's got four things going on at once, 5 if he's singing.
Yeah.
And, he knows where everything is. So it's the practice.
Yeah,
And
one of my favorite drummers always was Fleetwood Mac. You know what I mean?
Mick Fleetwood.
Because he would just, he had a big gong behind him, and then he had, these things where you hang and, you go, what it was like a xylophone kind of thing, and it is like.
I think Neil Peart's another one of Rush. Buddy Rich, classic example too of somebody who just. He's a machine, the jazz musician, Buddy Rich, and nobody could beat him, even with broken drum heads.
Wow.
He still made it sound awesome. There was a drum battle with him and Gene Krupa. One of my stepfathers loved this, and it's called the Drum Battle. And oh my gosh.
On something on YouTube?
I don't know if it's on YouTube. I'll have to check it out.
I bet you there's a bunch of other ones, man. It's like,
oh yeah. Well, the one that I love is with he and Animal from the Muppets. Oh, it's funny. And I mean, they go at it. And I mean, if you think about it, I don't know who's actually doing the drumming on, for Animal.
right.
But, I mean, these are the Muppets, and Animal is going nuts with Gene Krupa, and Krupa is just like barely breaking a sweat, and Animal at the very end of this whole thing is just going like, and you can see like, oh my God, he's just totally wiped out because Buddy Rich is just totally beaten.
That's crazy, man. So Matt, how do you add on to that?
No, I got shit galore. I was just thinking it's like
That's like, I'm gonna train an AI to do left hand and AI to do right hand.
No. No, it's like I don't have any interest in doing it over there. You know what I mean? But like I find it fascinating because to a certain extent, I almost feel like it's damn near impossible for me not to do multiple things at once.
Yeah.
Like it almost feels like unchecked ADD, like because like right now I'm with you guys, right? I'm listening to background music. I got rain sounds going on. Like there's multiple things. My dogs are here doing shit, and I'm always like a thought will hit my head to talk to you guys about. So then I'm asking ChatGPT about it while I'm listening to you guys.
Yep.
And this is just so normal to me that like I don't really notice it that often. That like my brain tends to like want multiple plates at once.
Well, and
spinning
it's funny. It's funny with old school versus new school. I can remember as you were young, you know what I mean? My deal is you guys are not listening to me. And Matt's going, you want me to repeat the question you just asked me? And I was going, yeah, and he would do it. And he's going, just because I'm doing other things doesn't mean I'm not paying attention to you. And I'm going like, well, listen, if you're not looking at my eyes and you're not focused on me, then you're not listening to me. Well, that's sort of different from the time I grew up or Craig grew up versus.
Oh yeah.
It's
well,
like,
too,
you always want
like
to say, look me in the eye. Come on,
Yeah.
look at me.
you're not paying attention. You're not
right.
paying
There's
attention.
always a difference between like focused attention and not having that.
Sure,
Like
sure.
I'm not gonna sit here and say like, listen, I need this to have a conversation with somebody. It's just while you guys were saying that, I took a beat and thought for a second. I was like, damn, I do tend to have multiple things going on at once for my brain to feel like at ease. And it's
Yeah,
interesting because someone like Hannah,
I would say that's a superpower, man. Every one of us, you guys know the way I believe is, Matt, I know I'm just waiting for the day for you to figure out that you're a miracle. And you know, it's like the way you are is the way you are. It's like, you know,
I'm
we let
starting to
the
get that
world,
more and more,
yeah, we let
like
the world label us, or we, you know, I just know how, you know, one of the things that they were saying with John, not John, let me see, Robert Kennedy Jr., that one of the things he was going to do that every other country in the world has already done is you can't advertise pharmaceutical drugs. We're, the United States is the only country that does it.
sure.
And so when you get on there and the person says, "Have you been low of energy? Have you had a slight headache? Is any of your joints hurting?" And it's like, what are these guys doing? Are they using AI writing down what the most symptoms is for people? And this drug can help you. And then if they lose your attention, then they just change the name of the drug. You know what I mean? It's doing the same thing, but it's like, hey, you know, do you not feel like yourself? Did you used to have more energy? You know, well, you need pull your head out of your ass. It's in a pill form right now.
Right.
And then when they update it with by only adding one major or one minor ingredient, like 0.01 grams of that
And
ingredient,
then
new
the
and
side,
It's red
improved.
red food coloring makes the
yeah,
pill
and
red, so no, it's
then the
okay.
Yeah.
side effects kick in. You know, anal leakage. You know what I mean?
Right. Now you got to get a pill for the anal leakage. It's like never ends. Before you know it, you're taking a pharmacy. No, like I through my life from time to time, I'll see certain things and people will be like, at what moment did you stop like raw dogging life? Like the joke as in like you're not and that's my dad to a T, right? Like I don't think my dad doesn't take anything. I mean coffee, I guess. So like you're not completely raw dogging it. But you know what I mean? Like to a
Yeah.
certain extent there's these people that like they very very much are like I'm not going to use any stimulants. And when similar to the ADD conversation, there's certain things in our lives that we just don't see as stimulants, like sugar and caffeine.
Oh, food,
Even though they're like
food.
some of
Yeah.
the most hardcore and addictive stimulants, right? So like I wake up and the first thing I crave in the morning is what? Coffee. Like I even get
Coffee.
excited going to bed the
Yeah.
night before knowing that I'm gonna get up early the next morning and have a cup of coffee and it's gonna be great, right? And I got my sugary creamer that I pour into it,
There you go.
add it,
Mm-hmm.
make it extra good.
It
So
really is just a routine for me, though. It's like the other day, I slept in longer than normal. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
normally get up like 5:36, and when I wake up,
it's way too early.
I'm wide
Mm-hmm.
awake. Uh, and uh, and so the other morning, I slept in till like 7:20, and so we always take the dogs out to walk at 8. And so I came downstairs and I had a cup of coffee, but I just said, you know, listen, are you ready to go? And she said, yeah. And I just put the coffee on the table and drank it when I got back. My wife always cracks up. Here's another thing about me is I'll finish a cup of coffee no matter how cold it is. I don't care. You know what I mean? And so some people say it's got to be hot, and it's like, well, no, mine's black, nothing in it, and I don't care if it's cold.
It's
And
so funny because this is like one of those things where it was like I think a couple Christmases back. If any of you guys have seen those ember mugs, the mugs that you put on the thing that keeps your coffee warm.
ah, my
Oh yeah,
God.
like a little
Yeah,
hot
we
plate.
got one of those for my dad
Thank
because
you,
we're like,
Krista.
right, we got one of those for my dad because he is the type of person that won't go back. You have to walk all the way up the stairs to reheat your coffee. So it's not gonna be like it has to be something that he really wants. Or my mom has to be heading upstairs or something like that to get that to happen. So me and Hannah are like, we'll just get him this ember mug that he can sit down and it'll keep the coffee warm, right? Or whatever. Not realizing, maybe the dude just likes to drink coffee that's lukewarm or cold. I don't know. So now I'm like, do I get him a cold brew machine? Like, what do I do next?
No, no,
But he
no,
would
no.
he wouldn't do that.
And I
One of those
not only
cold
thank you
press
and Hannah
things.
for the
Right.
gift, but I did re-gift it. You know what I mean?
Hey, there you go. At least it's going to the right hands. Give it. I mean,
so,
mom likes
so,
warm cups of coffee,
so,
right?
so,
So,
Craig's been enjoying that gift. I sent it to him for his birthday.
oh, that's funny.
Yes, actually, I have. It's right.
See, there you go. There you go. So somebody else is using it. Someone that actually likes a warm cup. So,
Oh, gotta
but
have a
no,
warm cup. I mean, whether it's coffee or tea or something like, I mean, heck yeah. And in my case, in my special mug
Ah,
that Susan gave me. And then here's what he's zipping on the other side.
whoa! I like how you made that handle disappear.
Yeah, is Snoopy. So the rug, it's Linus's blanket is the handle.
Ah,
Mm.
got it.
So
Sometimes
yeah.
you see certain mugs like that, and it's just really cool how like someone
Oh
took the time to
yeah.
actually
Yeah.
make something interesting out of the design instead of just slapping some stuff on it and selling
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
The
So,
I never understood this when I was younger, but getting older and being a grandpa, still one of the most special gifts I've ever gotten for Christmas was Hannah and Matt when they first got together. They probably were doing their best to save money to get the hell out of our house, to get on their own.
all of a
And
sudden, all the presents are handmade. No?
yeah, and so Hannah and Matt gave me a bag, and it was full of things that they wrote that were special on each note and put it in the
Not
bag.
just us. We took the time to get Kyle and my mom to write some too. So like, and this all goes to a testament to Hannah, really. Like she came up with the idea and wanted to get my dad like a mug and fill it with a bunch of positive things that we think and feel about him as like a family. So then anytime he's like feeling down and we're not around to tell him, he just go to his mug and grab one and see that we all appreciate him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that
And
was the
then, I,
idea.
and then,
See, that's
and
what's
then I
special
get,
is the
yeah, someone was
personal
asking me
stuff.
the other day
Yeah.
what was like what I got. So I said not only that, but then every year Amy takes Ryder and Olive and they make me something. You know what I mean? It's like crazy. It's like people can spend a lot of money on a gift, and then I get that from people that I love, and I'm going like
Hmm.
that. Those are my best gifts now.
Well, it's so
I think if
interesting
you find
too.
something personal to give to somebody, something, even if it's just something small, those have much more meaning
Yeah.
than just, okay, I'm going to pull this off the shelf. Here you go. Thank you. Happy Christmas.
Well, and my dad, you're the type of guy, Dad, to like have. If you look at that shelf behind him, if you didn't know, it's like it's not just awards. There's a ton of stuff back there that I've given him through the years. Hannah's given him through the years. Family in general has given him. So it's like
Things
one of
that mean
those things.
doing stuff to me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's like it's always cool seeing something new make it into the mix in the background, right?
Hey, did you guys notice that my cord for the counter's there, but I gotta figure out, Matt, how to get the counter to go.
I know, yeah. I think what I'm
I
gonna
saw that
do,
the other day.
I reached
Yeah.
out to the guy and he hasn't responded, but it's Christmas and I'm
Yeah.
sure he was hammered with people ordering. But if he doesn't get back to me, I'm just gonna get you a different one that's better.
Or was he
Yeah.
hammered?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's Christmas.
Hey, since we're talking about Christmas and Hanukkah, Craig, what'd you get for Christmas? Anything special that you can talk about on the air?
Actually, the night before Christmas Eve, no, I went over to Susan every year goes to see a certain family that she met when she first came to California because she's from New Jersey.
Wow.
And so she's been with them every Christmas Eve. And so I've been with her the last the last 4 times, 3 or 4 times. And so we did that. And then Christmas Day, she spent it with her family,
Got it.
the rest of her family. And of course, the night of the 25th was the first night of Hanukkah. And I was over at my mom and sister's house. So we lit the first set of candles. And then I also posted up on my YouTube channel, my actor channel, a little poem about Hanukkah, and a little
Awesome.
story
It was
about
awesome.
Hanukkah.
Share that
And
too. Share that too.
okay, I will do that. And it's to me, yes, I was raised Jewish. And yes, Hanukkah is a very important holiday for me. What I love about this time of year is it's not just the fact that it's Hanukkah or Christmas. It's the season. It's celebrating whatever it is with other people.
Yeah.
And I think that is what is more important. All right, I'm going to brag on myself a little bit here. I used to love going out Christmas caroling with my friends, and I knew as many, if not maybe a few more than the friends that I Christmas caroled with. But I love it because it's the season, it's the atmosphere, it's the feelings that everybody shares that
Yeah.
is so important. And whether you're Jewish, whether you're Catholic Christian, whether you celebrate Christmas, whether you celebrate Festivus or Kwanzaa or even Ramadan, doesn't matter. Whatever holiday, and the fact that this is the last week of the year and we get to celebrate, I look at it as maybe even just celebrating our accomplishments
Yeah.
from the entire year and preparing for the new year. Now, yes, maybe for everybody else it's just another day, but we've set the calendar in such a way that we can celebrate the year in December on, okay, December 25th or whenever. We
Right.
give thanks in November. We celebrate the end of the year in December. And now let's get ready for the new year, 2025. Lots of things are going to happen. If that's what you consider your reset as opposed to what today is, then great,
Yeah.
do it. But follow through with it and go forward. The point is going forward. And you keep saying, Robert, let's live for today.
Right.
Let's get
We got to
today
come
going.
up. I made a note. We're three very creative individuals, and Matt has Nova, and Hannah is also being creative. So we got to come up with a really good saying for 2025. Like,
Well, you did.
well, I think that it's not hitting the way I want it to. It's like,
Oh, okay.
you know what? Because here's what you do. You tell people, let's really be alive in 25.
Right.
And 99% of the people go, I'm already alive. So now we got to get into that, right? And so, I thought Matt could do his creativity, and Craig, you're creative. And it's like, I don't know if everyone really knows Thrive, Thrive in 2025. So maybe they haven't thrived in 24. But I don't know. We'll come up with
That's a
something cool,
start.
and then we get Matt's creativity going, and before we know it, we got an animated GIF and a movie to share with people.
Yeah, you guys are gonna be seeing a lot of that. Like tomorrow, I'm gonna do another live stream and stuff and show some stuff. But like in general, you guys are gonna see a lot more stuff. So
Yeah, I was going to
that's
ask
that's
What
really
did
fun.
did you and Hannah?
Hollis?
What did you and Hannah do for Christmas?
So I had been doing I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks. I was doing like a weed tolerance break or a THC tolerance break. So I hadn't been partaking in any marijuana or anything like that. And if you know anything about me, I love myself some weed. Like that's one of my one of my cruxes, I guess, is like it's just something
Yeah.
that I enjoy doing. I like getting stoned, playing video games, and relaxing. It's like my
That
nightcap sometimes.
that and bear traps and being forced to have sex with old people.
Well, those are bugaboos. That's things I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
like. No, yeah, those are things I won't do unless if the prices are right. But the
A little,
but
a
no,
little,
I
a little bit of Anchorman came in, or whatever. Step Brothers.
yeah, I think it's Step Brothers or something like that. But I bought a bunch more, and me and Hannah chilled, and I rolled a bunch of joints, and we had rosé and mimosas, and we just sat and played video games and watched Christmas movies all day.
Oh, that's
So,
cool. That's really, really cool.
and as far as gifts go, I finally I've had the same pair of headphones now for like 5-6 years, right? And they're good, but they for some reason I would put them on the last like week or 2 weeks, and all of a sudden the noise canceling will like go out in the left ear and then scream in my ear, like
Ouch.
a deafening amount, right? And so that's kind of something you don't want to fuck around with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to
I
be
used
like
to have a friend that did that.
deafened.
I got rid of him.
Yeah. So because of that similar situation, Hannah got me some new headphones, so that was my gift, and I been using them every single day, so they're great.
Sorry
But
for the interruptions. I feel cheerful today, so I'm like coming up with these.
I
Like,
no, I don't.
well,
I'm used to.
I actually,
Well, we're
believe it or not,
celebrating.
I
mean,
watched. There was a comedian that Terry and I like to watch. His name is Nate whatever. But it begins with a B. He just did a Netflix Christmas special. But I just love people that have these like things that we all do. And one of his lines from his old comedic deal was he said, I seen this guy, and he said back in the old days it was what was the name of the jacket, Craig, that everybody, if you had one of these jackets, it was like, I don't remember what it was, but it's funny. It was a common jacket that everybody, hey, if you had that jacket, you're cool,
I
right?
don't remember.
If I
Is it
said
like
it,
a fawn's
no,
jacket or leather jacket or something
Leather?
like that?
no,
Or
no, it was, I don't know. You could say, I bet you if you did AI and you said, what was a jacket that all the guys wanted in the 80s, or it would probably,
Nehru jacket?
no, I forget the name. It'll come to us. It will come to us. But Nate said he seen this guy with a really nice jacket, and he walked up to him, and the guy went,
Members
"Yeah, I
only?
don't, what?
Members only?
was it?
Ah,
Oh,
see,
okay.
There it
yeah,
is.
there it is. It's I do it, and so Nate said he said, well, I went up and seen this guy, and I said I really like that jacket. And he goes, not only is it a nice jacket, but you can get it at Macy's, and he says it's reversible. And the guy
Oh,
said,
nice.
wow. And he said, so I went to my local Macy's store and I seen the jacket, and I tried it on, and it fit me perfect. So I bought two of them. And because I like both colors. And he said, so I went to the cashier, and the cashier looked at me and said, you do know that's a reversible one? And he goes, I do. It's like, well, am I buying four jackets, or am I buying two? Or do I only need one? So I just like people
And
that,
we're the same colors. That was the thing. Is like is it black on one side and white on the other, and then white on one side and black on the other?
so
Right.
I just love people that do that. And then on top of that, I see this lady that we love watching. She's like a grandma, and she's a Southern lady. You know what I mean? So she said this thing today too. She was on, and they were interviewing her by her new book. And she said, when I met my husband, she said, the second that I seen him, it's like he just catered to me. He came over and said some nice things, and he helped me put my coat on. And she said he goes and opens the door for me, and he's just like overbearing in a nice way of how many nice things he's did for me. And then of course we got married and had kids, and he did this, and she was just going through this whole story of all the nice things they did together. And she says now the kids are gone, and it's like all of a sudden I see a shift in him. It's like his job was to get married, have kids, and then get them on their own. And he says, now I really don't know if he would pull me out of a burning car. It was. But everything he said up to that point, you were just going like, this is the nicest guy in the planet, And then all
Oh
of a
gosh, it reminds me of a joke. Okay, a priest, a rabbi, and a father, I guess, get together at a bar, and they talk about when life begins. Now, forgive me if I don't get it exactly. Okay.
oh, you can't ever put that line in a joke.
Yeah. Well, so the priest goes, or the father goes, it's at the moment of conception. Okay, that's when life begins. The priest goes, oh no, it's when the baby is born. And the rabbi goes, or they both look at the rabbi and say, when does life begin? And the rabbi thinks about it and goes, when the dog dies and the kids move out of the house.
That's funny.
That's a classic Jewish joke. I love those, man.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like I've really have enjoyed our last podcast. Is we just seem to just get in with no agenda and talk about things, and I just love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of those people too. Like I like the spontaneity of it so much that I'm trying to find like a rhythm even in my own live streams, how much of it I want to be spontaneous and how much of it I want to be calculated, right?
Yeah.
You guys will see me go through that process where it's like, sometimes I'll get on and I'll be like, okay, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to talk about, but there's like fun stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And then there's other times where I get on and I'm like, boom, 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 like I have a curriculum to go through, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
The
it is fun.
Yeah, the more planned, it seems like it's just not sincere and authentic enough. Here's a subject that I was going to share with you guys that was thought and planned, but it came to me again. But you know, Craig brought it up, didn't mean to bring it up, but he brought it up in his story, but in a good way. It's like when you sort of look back at your life, me and Matt talked about this briefly, and I even brought it up with Kyle. It's like when you think about the things that you do, we not only have the phrase that I love saying, if what you know that you know that you know isn't so, when would you like to know? And so we used to always talk about, I think we brought it up on another podcast with Matt, is that all these things that people do that are just traditions, and damn it, we just do them. So when Sue said, "Hey, listen, I have this family that I met when I came to California, and this is what I do." And I think when you don't have, if you're sort of a happy-go-lucky kind of individual and you love putting smiles on people's faces, it's like, if I don't have any tradition, it was easy for me. I hardly ever seen my either side of my family from my mom or my dad's, right? So I'm not bringing anything with me. But here's the other thing that recently has been, sort of really getting my mind. Is like, how many things do we do under 100% obligation? So we do them because we are people pleasers and we do things that we really would rather not do, but we just do them. So that's why movies like the ones that my wife loves watching, Terry, is like one of her Home for the Holidays, where you see two people coming home, driving to their house from the airport, and they're leaning against the window and they do one of these. It's like I'd rather be anywhere but going through airports, and then going to, and every holiday is a record holiday. And it's like this whole group of people that just get in that freaking airport and drive those distances because it's like, hey, this is what we do. And the other one that I brought up is, who said, I know people are going to go, what the hell's wrong with me when I say this? But it's like, you need friends. You need to get out of the house. You need to get out of the house and you need to find friends. You gotta do that. And I think that people in this day and age don't get that. Do you? Who in the hell said that? I get the whole concept about loneliness, but my youngest son, Kyle, I hear him in his room and he's, probably, there's not a day I've never heard him break into some kind of laughter in his room. And I know that he's doing video games and watching YouTube channels and watching some kind of stream.
Yeah, like Twitch streams, right?
Yeah, and watching some kind of streamers. And I'm sitting there going, me and Terry were talking about this, my wife, and it's like, Terry was really a loner her whole entire life. She said she would never, we brought this up, Matt, because we're talking about what got us out of the house.
Right.
For me, it was the
money. You needed to make money. No, just kidding.
No. What got me out of the house was the Child Protective Services.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh, well, yes.
I was thinking more of an adult got you out of the house, but yeah, that was adults taking you out of the house.
Yeah, and so that led on to that little stint from one house to another to a federal prison cell. But it's like when you sit there and you think, everyone knew where to find Bobby, and Bobby was working in a garage building a race car, so I could race during the summer months. And if I wasn't at my garage, I was at somebody else's garage helping them get their race car going. So people would always go, hey, hanging around with Bobby is a pretty positive guy. He's very creative. He's very focused. He creates shit that nobody else does. Me putting a Corvette motor in a Vega, before I was 16 years of age, people were like freaking out. This kid's got no parents. And look at what the shit that he does, And I sit there and I think about that, and it was like everybody that wanted to hang around me would come down to the garage and hang around me. But if they did, they were doing something with me on that, building a race car or doing whatever. And then every once in a while, they would try to pull me out of the garage, and sometimes they were successful, to go to some damn party or something, or let's just go to the bar and have a couple of drinks. And man, I was that is definitely not a place I wanted to be. And so Terry was talking. The only thing that got her out of the house and it made her dad mad is she went to kindergarten with this girl named Jolie Kramer, which is still her best friend. Can you imagine having a best friend since kindergarten, right? And so they, once high school graduated, they sort of lost touch a little bit. And so Terry seen her at a store. She was working at Herberger's and seen her at the store and talked to her. And she said, "Oh my God, I had to get out of the house immediately, because her dad abused her. So that's how she got out." And then she just looked at Terry and went, "You should move in with me." And she goes, "Okay." And I guess Grandpa was just livid. He goes, "Why would you move?" And she's going, "I don't know." Isn't that crazy? It's like, we're paying for your food. It costs you nothing to live here.
Yeah, my grandparents, it's interesting the duality of my parents' childhood, because dad had like none of that. My or my mom had like the Leave It to Beaver family, right? Like
I say
my
that all the
grandparents on
time.
her side were like incredible. Her dad was incredible. Her mom's incredible. Both my grandparents. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's really, really funny because you guys are similar with me and Kyle in the way that they were, right? Where it's
Right.
like in Kyle's situation too, it's like, okay, he could have all the money and everything lined up in the world, but it's like if he doesn't feel like doing it, you're not going to say you have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which I think is an interesting thing that a lot of people don't think about, right? Because and when you're in certain situations, forcing somebody to do something, like I don't think any of us would have said, "Hey, Kyle, you have to go to Japan." That's not a force thing. That's a Kyle thing, and I think that's the right way it's supposed to be done. As we're like a
Well,
lot of
I
us,
look
we
at
go, "I
Hannah
want this or
too.
that,"
I look at Hannah. Why I sort of brought this up is I wanted sort of a thought of your guys's. It's like I know
Sure.
that you and Hannah constantly go back and forth. Well, you know what? Maybe we should get our ass out of the house and go meet another married couple and do
Done
some
that a few times.
and do
Right.
some shit. And then all of a sudden you're going like, yeah, that wasn't any fun.
Well, it just ends up being it comes down to the same stuff that it always does, right? And it's if your mind, similar with the ADD stuff we were talking about earlier, right? Like you go, maybe I need this. Maybe this is something I really, really need in my life. And you should do exactly that step. Figure out whether or not you need it, right? And so you go out and you do things, and when you're young, maybe that's partying or drinking or having fun or whatever it may be, and you get a little bit older and this acceptance happens. I know you guys have already went through this, but this acceptance of yourself happens where you go, yeah, I don't really need to go anywhere to do these things. Like I'd much rather just do them at home with the people that make me cozy and be in my
Right.
own space than get all my shit on and go out to the bar and do it. I'd rather invite my friends over to my place and have fun over here than go somewhere else to do that, right? Like
Yeah.
that second space. And it just ends up being more of an acceptance of the things you like to do than it is, oh, these are some things I should do, you
Right.
know? And so
Yeah.
we're kind of at that space. So it's like
Yeah.
that, you know?
Well, and Craig, this is just a perception. This is my perception, my hallucination. I look at Craig, and ever since I've known Craig, I think Craig has more friends at the present moment than I've had in my entire lifetime. Craig just always seems to be, whether he's dealing in the arts. I know that, when you got to do a play like that, it takes
Yes.
time to get to sort of know people. And, people probably show up and socialize before while they're practicing and then maybe
Hmm.
socialize a little
But
bit
not
afterwards.
to interrupt
Well,
you, Dad, but how often do you sit on Zoom calls and talk to people and do those things
exactly.
similarly? You
I
do,
mean,
and
I
that's the
mean,
way that you've met like all the people,
yeah,
including Craig and everybody here,
I
was through
meet, I
business.
meet
So
hundreds of new people a week.
that's what
Exactly.
yeah.
And
So
you get to
it's
know, like, and trust the people that you're with.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to the acting, just real quick,
no, please, Craig.
you need to do that, especially if you are relying on them to do certain things or be in a specific spot at a certain time or even help you, because sometimes things will happen during a live production. I had a couple of boo-boos that, were just part of the whole thing. But, you rely on these people and you trust them, even though it may be a short-lived experience. I mean, there are people that one of the gentlemen in this last show, I hadn't seen for 9 years.
Oh,
He
wow.
was he was in the Miracle on 34th Street show when I came back to the theater 9 years ago, this exact same time period.
That's cool.
And yeah, it was really cool to reconnect with him. And it was almost as if we didn't, you know,
I
we didn't
love
miss a
people like
beat.
that. I love
Yeah.
people like that.
But we trust each other and we trusted each other on a couple of things that happen. And it's just, you move on. I may never see some of these people again, but you create that experience to help you get through what it is you're working on.
Right.
And that's what I love to do. And I know you do that, Robert. And I'm sure, Matt, you also, when you
I
connect with
try.
somebody, depending upon how you connect with them. I mean, you find a bunch of AI buddies, like just as an example, and
Yeah.
you guys are just bam.
Well, it's so interesting too because it's like me being from somewhat the creative world, right?
Mhm.
And hopping into a space that is mostly technical people. Like I have a lot of technical
Programmers,
knowledge about these things,
programmers.
but the way that well, both my friends, like my best friends, work in IT. So like because of that, and I grew up with computers and doing all this stuff, it's interesting because like the personality differences between creatives and analyticals is like
Oh
the
yeah.
the difference between those two is very noticeable. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And how they act and react and friend groups and things like that. And I think being able to hop between those two is really fun because there's different parts of your own personality. And this is one thing that I think Dad touching on friends, it does help you with. And it's more so finding these people. But it's like and Craig, exactly what you were saying, finding the people that engage with parts of your personality that you don't normally engage with
Right.
outside of them. So it's like, finding a friend that's into movies, right?
Right.
If you find somebody and you sit down with them, it could be 10 years, it could be less or more. But if the thing that you share in common is a love for film, then when you sit down, what are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about films. What new films have you watched? And now this connection that you have similarly, whether it's Dad with you, you have a few friends that I know that are into racing, like really
Yeah.
do love racing. And so when you get on the phone with them, you can shoot the shit about racing a little bit, even though
The
it's
topic,
not the
the
main thing
topic
that,
goes there immediately. Yeah.
right, exactly. Or, I'm sure when you have conversations with Josh, you guys talk about UFC and fighting and stuff like that, right? It's a
Getting paid. Yeah.
common, yeah, common shared, right, exactly. World domination, whatever it is you guys talk about. But
Who's Pinky
but
and
it
who's the brain?
Yeah.
right, but it comes down to like there's this quote that I read last night that I sent to you guys, and it really affected me. It was from what's that guy that helps people create music and songs? He's very well known, and he wrote this book about creativity. Bearded guy, really long hair. You guys are gonna know him.
Oh,
Um,
everybody goes to him, and he's the one that,
It's not Ruben, something like that though. Um,
golly, he's like a
I
money
think it's Rick
kind of guy.
Rubin or something like that.
God,
Yeah, Rick Rubin.
that sounds
That's
right
his
on.
name, right? He had this quote that I saw, and it's like certain things you come across them when you do, right? So like
Right.
you're just chilling, I'm sitting outside smoking a joint and scrolling through like YouTube shorts, right? And this one comes up with Rick Rubin and he says this thing and it hits me because he's worked with if you guys don't know about this guy, he's worked with so many different musicians and
There's a
helped them.
documentary that you gotta watch. You watch.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But he's one of those guys that shows up and works with musicians that are stuck in a rut or stuck in a situation where they go creatively, they're stuck, musically, they've just have too much on their plate and they're going, how do I come off this album that everyone loved and make something that I'm proud of, but is not disappointing them because it's taken a left turn from what I originally gave them, right? And so he had this quote, and the quote was, I'm going to pull it up so I don't butcher it. people believe that their life work should be a resume when it really needs to be a journal. Focus on the growth, not the outcome. And so when he talks to musicians that are stuck, they're always thinking of, I want all these Grammys. I want all this stuff. I want to be musically acknowledged for my skill. And that's a resume, you guys. That's a resume of things where when they pull up your Wikipedia page, you have all this shit that you've accomplished. And when he shows up, he goes, no, you don't understand. When you're making something or doing something with your life, that's a journal entry in your life of where you were at that time. Right? Yeah, he has that Shangri LA or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Shangri-La. Yeah.
We watched this documentary. Wow. It's like, yeah, Matt.
Definitely check it out. But that quote
when
really
he-
hit me
when
at
he
that moment in
talks-
time.
Yeah, when he talks to people, even about music, he's going, and he doesn't go anywhere. Everyone's got to come to his little Malibu little shack that he's got in Malibu that overlooks the ocean. And people come to him and he's going, listen, you're not in touch with who you are at all. I mean, he gets right in the face with a bunch of people. And so what he does is he always brings them back to some original work that got them into it. And he's going, so what the fuck is going on here? I need you to listen to this little riff. And normally when he does it, there was a couple of singers that as they were listening to the riff, he would just say, I tune everything out. I need to know where your heart and your soul was when you did this riff. And you would immediately see them start crying. And he's going, so now we're back in touch with the person that wanted to do music. Not the person that
Right.
he would just say, I tune everything out. He would just say, I tune everything out. Where your heart, your soul was. Where your heart, your soul was. And you would immediately see them start crying. And you would immediately see them. And he's going, so now we're back in touch.
There we go.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
But no, I was scrolling through because we were talking about Rick Rubin. I just asked GPT. It's like, what artist has he helped? Rock and metal, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Metallica, System of a Down, Slipknot, Linkin Park, Black Sabbath. In hip hop, Beastie Boys, Run DMC, LL Cool J, Jay-Z, Kanye West. In pop, Adele, Johnny Cash, Lana Del Rey, Ed Sheeran, the Dixie Chicks. Other genres, Tom Petty, Neil Diamond, Mick Jagger, the Avett Brothers. It's like I could list more if you want me to.
Yeah.
So,
former co-president of Columbia Records. I mean, right there.
Yeah.
He's just one of those guys.
Pedigree.
Yeah, and most of the time when they're trying to put something together and make it work, what's hilarious about him is he's like got this little thing in a window in the studio, and you can see the ocean and the palm trees, and he's sort of laying, in that window with his eyes shut, listening, and he's just like, and then they're playing a little bit, and he's going, yeah, I don't feel it at all. If you watch it, it messes you up because he's not listening to the music of whether it's coordinated or whatever. He's just going like, I don't feel anything. And people are like, what? You know what I mean? And it's like, so Johnny Cash, when you watch it, he gets credit for Johnny Cash's comeback. And so what he did is, you'll hear this a number of times. So it was Johnny Cash, the artist, that someone felt. He brings this up through the whole documentary. That someone felt and then said, this is a star, so let's cut a record. And so what they do is now they take all the stuff that he's been putting in a journal, like Matt says, they're putting in a journal and you're writing all these things when you're trying to make it. And then you pull all this stuff into maybe your first album. Right? Mm-hmm. Now you're under a contract, and now that contract says that you're taking this record on tour, but then we have to have another album released on this time. And he says, under obligation and under having to write stuff, just to write stuff to fulfill an obligation, it makes the feeling disappear.
Yeah, because how much
So
time did they spend
isn't
on
that
that first
crazy?
album? How many first albums of groups have just
Yeah.
skyrocketed, and then follow-up albums, because exactly what you're saying,
Yep.
Robert, they tank.
So
Well,
what
it
he
works.
did,
Yeah, yeah,
what,
yeah.
what he did is he went back, he asked Johnny Cash, what were some of his favorite songs? And he listed the favorite songs on the other 22 fucking albums he did, whatever. Johnny Cash was writing music all the time. And they went back and he said, well, I really like this one. I really like this one. I really like this one. And all they did is went back and put feeling in them. So he just, hey, we don't have to do anything here, but said here, tell me what you felt when you started to write these lyrics. What's changed the lyrics around? We're not under pressure. We're not under contract. What would you do different to make a feeling in the music? What do you feel here, here, here? And they relaunched old songs that he wrote under obligation and then relaunched it. And then everybody in the planet before he died wanted him to play again. So totally just rejuvenated these guys' total career by just simply getting them back in touch with what made people come out to see him to begin with. It's a great documentary. But Matt,
Yeah,
say
sure. I'll
that
say
phrase
it one more
again.
time. Just because you brought up Johnny Cash and stuff too, is like I remember when he sang the Nine Inch Nails song "Hurt" and did the music video for it, and then I think Atticus Ross came out, one of the guys in Nine Inch Nails. He's like, "That's not our song anymore."
Oh,
Like it's so
wow.
good. If you've heard the version of "Hurt" from Johnny Cash, it's so good. Not
Yeah.
that the Nine Inch Nails version isn't, but it's really really good. But the quote is. People believe that their life's work should be a resume when it really needs to be a journal. Focus on your own growth, not your outcomes. So that's he said that because I've been struggling creatively myself because
Right.
I hit these walls myself where I start to lean into not trusting myself as much and thinking like has so much to do with taste and trust, right?
Right.
Creativity, especially in those styles, it does, just like you were saying. So, since that's the case, when that starts to evaporate and you start to go, oh, I think people would really like this, or I think people would really like that, you start to lose that element of what you're creating for.
Yeah.
And it no longer, your compass no longer works the same way. It
Right.
starts to become a game that you're playing with somebody instead of a game that you're enjoying playing yourself. And I think that
Amen.
that's like the biggest thing.
Well, Matt,
And
you
so it's
said
like
it.
getting
You said
back to
it.
that journal of like, oh, I'm playing for myself and I love this. Oh, that works because I feel it. Instead of going,
Right.
oh, people would really find this fascinating. It's
Right.
like it changes your excitement for things when you no longer find them interesting yourself,
Yeah.
but just are trying to get other people to find them interesting.
Well, you
So,
said two key things. One is when this little, rah, rah, when this
mhm.
slips in our head, and the two that I wrote down while you were talking is I wonder what other people want. Fuck them. All right. Be you and attract the people that want you to be your authentic self. Then the other one is just part of human nature is this whole concept of fucking value. All right. So, I really love doing this. I really love skipping rocks but I need to pay my rent. This is a human thing that comes out of nowhere that's not true that even gives us some part of value. I know that for me, really early in life, it was like you're nobody. You can't get the things that you don't need in life or want in life if you don't have money. And so I knew it wasn't going to come from my mom and dad because they wasn't there. And so immediately you start. It's funny that my number one question when I was young is how can I get money? I would ask everyone how to get money. And they go, well, how old are you? And I'm going, well, I'm 13. Well, you can't have a job. It's like, well, why not? Well, it's a law. You know what I mean? So, well, I know there's other people that are 13 that make money. Well, you can get a paper route. I was like, okay. If that's a way to. And then while I'm doing a paper out, it's like, doing it was a thing on Shark Tank, not to get too off subject here, but two kids in college, it was in Chicago, it was on Shark Tank, and they came up with a frickin' app for shoveling and salting sidewalks and driveways. And of course, the Shark Tanks are going to beat the shit out of them. So how are sales? Oh, our first year we did 150,000. The next year we went to 3 other colleges that are in the north, and we did 780,000. And fucking everybody's like, what? And he goes, here's why it works. We pay more money than any other college job. And so people are like, hey, when it snows, they can put in a couple of days work, salt driveways and shovel driveways, and make more in 2 days than they could make in 3 months at their job. And so it got out very, very, very fast. And they just wanted help to expand it to everywhere else. And they go, well, this is seasonal. And they're going like, that was the only objection. And the kids went like, if you're not doing the sidewalk, you can't mow the lawn. You can't you can't get the leaves. And the guy, Mark Cuban's like, hey, that answer right there, I'm in. And they go, what's the deal? And he says exactly what the hell you offered. He was like, these kids are freaking smart to go to all the colleges and just say, we'll figure out a way to make it work. Did Matt freeze? Oh, it looked like he was frozen.
No, he was intently listening.
I was just sitting here listening to your story.
Yeah, but yeah, me, story time, Robert, story time. I just gather.
I'm the same way though, but like I know a lot of people benefit from when you share stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like I think that if it's like something that connects with us, that's the whole kind of reason we're here, you know what I mean, is to like share those things with others. Going back to the journal entries, that's one of those things, right? Where it's like if you're taking the time to make something and go out of your way and show it to other people, then like obviously you're wanting to share a bit or piece of yourself.
Yeah.
That's vulnerable. But when it comes to like the financial aspects, like you were sharing, Dad, like there's certain things that can really like mix you up with that. And so you got to have a fine balance because you need money to do the things in life that you want to do and accomplish. So you got to have that fine balance. And I love people that acknowledge that balance exists. Like I hate the term struggling artist. Like I don't like that term.
Yeah.
Because it's like
it's
and anybody that's a successful artist will tell you how much of a fallacy it is. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, like I'm struggling for my art. It's like, how many artists are successful with their art? Like it's a mentality, I think.
Totally.
Right? So
it's all imagination. It's totally imagination.
Yeah, you can make Jurassic Park and Schindler's List in the same year. Somebody did. So because that happens, I think a lot of people go, wow, you really could make something that artistically is at the tippity top of its craft, and at the same time make something that's entertaining and makes $1 billion. You know what I mean? Like both those things can be the same person.
Yeah.
You can make Indiana Jones and Schindler's List. So you could do those types of things. But I think a lot of people go, oh, it's an either or situation. I think I'm coming to terms with the fact that I can make things that make a bunch of money and are entertaining, but are also uniquely me, or have a balancing act that happens where it's like one for you, one for me, so to speak.
It's all about breaking those walls that you have built up around you because culture and society have put you in that bubble, in that box, and saying, Robert, you've done that over your lifetime pretty much with all these different creative things that you've come up with.
Right.
And it's a matter of us, taking action. That's it. Taking action and trusting that, okay, if it doesn't hurt anybody, I'm the only one affected, and the possibilities, the what if,
right.
Is the what if going to be very positive? I mean, yes, something negative could happen, but what if it actually came about to fruition. Nothing wrong with that. Why not go for it? And like you were saying, Matt, balance it, 1-to-1. If you can't do a 1-to-1, do a 2-to-1, where, okay, you're going to spend
I 1,000
two-thirds of your time doing what you
I
need to,
believe,
and 1/3 of what you're not, what you want to do. Go ahead.
I believe at this point in my life that the more authentic you are in staying in the zone of what gives you the most joy, the audience will come. I'm just,
well, you have to. I'm in agreement with you.
You gotta trust that. I'll give you guys a neat example. Is, it doesn't. I did a video recently. It was 25 minutes long. You guys probably see me talk about.
No, it's amazing. Yeah.
And that was a creative idea that I had. That you can tell people not to be emotional. You can tell people they need to control their emotions while they're going through life's roller coaster of highs and lows. And I just had this thought where I'd seen somebody had speared the ideal, but the guy actually posted a small video of a graphic of his trade happening. So those are the screenshots that we see that people share. But I didn't have a clue that if you clicked on it while the trade was live, that those same numbers click on that graphic as would be if you did a screenshot. So that spurred me into an idea that what if I just played along with the trade, went into it, showed that graphic, and just very simply just shared a bunch of emotions that people go through while you're watching it. Now, the negative thought was, okay, so what if the trade never turns green? Then this is going to be a lot of wasted time. And then my creative self stepped in and went, if it never turns green, no one sees the fucking video. There needs to be a second take, a third take, a fourth take. So of course I just trusted it and I put it up and then started talking. And even when I shifted my mindset from all the things that I could think that people think negative, and people go, how do you know they think those things? Well, I think those things. A lot of people, Matt and Craig know me very, very well, but you guys listened to that and went, my dad's talking about him. He's not just, I was just finding a winter, a winter, a winter, a winter, a winter.
I posted that video, by the way, in the chat, and it will be in the post description.
And I just was going, so if I'm going through all these winters, people will relate to this. And so when I made the mental thought, don't know why, this guy right here, that video was supposed to be 10 minutes long. So if you guys watch, I went into like 7-8 minutes, and now I'm going to personally change my mindset to spring and summer. And while I'm changing my mindset to spring and summer about the positive ways that you can imagine yourself in a better place in every scenario, the trade started going more negative. And I went, this is fucking life. This is life. So you go, listen, I'm tired of feeling like this. So I'm going to step into just doing what I want to fucking do. Fuck the world. Fuck everybody. I'm going to do this. As soon as you do that, the world gets worse. Your perspective, Darth Vader of the world, wants to go, fuck off, Matt. Fuck off, Craig. Whoever's watching this, it's like you're going to step in and change the destiny of your life. The fuck you are. I'm gonna use every trick in the world to get this guy just to beat the shit out of you. And so you guys watch it if you watch it again. So I'm just going, oh, really? I was going, 2025 is going to be the best year I ever had, and this is going to happen. And I just went, hey, if you wanna fight, I'm going to take you down. I'm going to choke your ass out. I'm going to make you tap. And I just did that mentally to the phone. And it stayed negative. It stayed negative. It stayed negative. 25-minute video. 20 minutes, 10 minutes talking negative shit, and 10 minutes talking positive shit. And then at the end, all of a sudden it just whoop. I went, okay, I'll tell everyone that knows me that ever sees this video. If you watch that video, that's how Robert Hollis makes his life his life. Right then, I feel resistance. I don't want to tap. I don't want to let someone choke my ass out. And I just lean in with every positive imagination I can fucking pull off. And there's never been a time in my life where I haven't been able. The thought just came to me that I've never said mutiny on the bow. I've never
Mutiny
heard
on
that.
the Bounty.
Yeah, so you're on the boat and all of a sudden it starts to get a little crazy. And so then you yell at everybody, this is what we're going to do. And they're like, fuck you, we're going down. But it's like, so when you want to try to motivate others to help you get out of the situation, it backfires on you. And it's like, listen, you're not the leader. Can't you see the writing on the wall? This is going like shit. This is going like shit. It's all of a sudden when you reach out to tell other people that you're going to turn it around is when these people go, fuck you are. You're not educated enough. You're not successful. You've tried things before and failed. And that's when you gotta say fuck it to the rest of the world and you gotta lean into it. And so, Terry and I talk about this, and Matt's seen me do this. For all of you that don't believe this bullshit, then just don't believe it. It's my hallucination. I live in it. I get to create my own reality regardless of what the fuck you say. So watch that video, and that's what's happening. But Matt knows this about me, and Terry knows this about me, and Craig knows about this. If you're having any problem with electrical components, your phone, your computer, your TV, whatever, don't ask for my help. Because this worked for me when I was a mechanic. That's when I first realized I had it. Because I came downstairs this morning and the TV's not on. And I go, what's wrong with the TV? And she said, I press these buttons and this thing comes up that it needs to be whatever, and it's got to be updated, whatever. And she's pretty irritated. And I went over and I touched the remote and I said, try it now. And she's like, I'm so tired of this shit.
I mean, I feel like I must have that in my genes, because it happens to me too. It's funny. I'll just go to try to do something. It'll just work out.
Yeah.
So
and what Matt, what's some of the other things when you figure it out? Then you run into people that are coders and engineers, and they go, Matt, that's not how that problem was supposed to be solved.
Well, I think that's normally
go,
the worst
hey,
of it.
This is the imagination I had for the outcome, how I got to it.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is, like, I think a lot of people tend to, and this even goes back to the Rick Rubin thing, right? Like academically, academically you can push yourself in a direction, have all the knowledge in the world, but the reality is without actual action on that knowledge and trying it out yourself through trial and error, you're never really going to get anywhere. Like, I think a lot of us experience that, where like we really want to learn because we feel like it'll help us, but then goes back to that quote you shared the other day from Charlie Munger, right? Where it's like you don't really have to ask somebody. Like if you went to Elon Musk, you wouldn't really have to ask him how to be an entrepreneur or a director. Like you'll see this so often in writing, right? If you go to someone that's a successful writer, they'll say to you, read more and write more. That's how you become a successful writer. Yeah. And that's the thing is it's like you really can't get over the hurdle of actually doing shit. You have to actually do it. You can't get over the hurdle. Knowledge will never help you accomplish that.
You want to build a YouTube channel? Great.
Make videos, yeah.
Let me know when you're at 100 videos. And, when Craig and I, whenever we bring up this subject, when we ever talk to Craig about it, it really is the difference of watching somebody acting and you go, they're in character.
Right.
And all of a sudden you just go, wow. So whether you see it in music or acting or whatever. And here's what the common denominator I always love when people are actually performing is you go, holy cow, Craig, that performance, I've never seen you better. And usually the response is, I thought that was like my worst. You know what I mean? Because you're consciously not aware of what you're doing. So that means that you're out of control. But that's when you're emotionally getting people to feel the most, is when it's coming from heart memory. I heard a guy say just the other day, you guys will love this. And they go, don't you think it's interesting that the weakest muscle or the weakest organ in our body is the brain? So what would be the strongest? The heart. Never stops.
That's right.
Never freaking stops. You do anything with your body, including brain power, and it's got to go into overdrive to produce the oxygen so that you can dispense that kind of energy. So your heart's the strongest and your brain's the weakest, and we never ever want to try to connect them. It's like the world will tell you, don't connect them. And the people that make the biggest difference on the planet are people that figured out how to connect them.
Yeah,
And
it's
I heard
interesting
that
too
from
because
this.
you like bring up a good point. And it even goes overall to the conversation we've been having here, which is it's like, okay, there's certain people that go towards a common goal, or they go towards a goal that they want to accomplish and get like lost along the way. And then there's people that carry it all the way there in some areas and then get lost somewhere else along the way. And then there's people that carry it all the way. Um, maybe those people are assassinated or things happen to them as well. But it's always interesting when you find these people that really can dream and imagine something bigger and better. It's like I was such a massive fan of Elon Musk when he had Tesla and SpaceX originally, like maybe 5, 6 years ago. Then as I started to watch him go more down the wealth rabbit hole, I started to disconnect with him because I'm not built that way.
Got
And
it.
maybe I'm not built that way because I haven't experienced what that feels like, right?
True.
To be to be so wealthy that you can change the course of human history,
Fucking
right?
crazy.
And so to have that level of power is extreme. But I remember when it was just a vision of some particular thing that he wanted to accomplish, and everybody going, "That's not gonna fucking happen," and that inspired the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Now I'm watching it be more in the opposite direction of that, where it's like more in the realm of financial incentives. Than it is around actual change or movement in that direction, which is unfortunate. But that's the way it goes. If you look at Ford's life, right?
Mhm.
The dude
Every
can create
successful,
the
every,
automotive industry, and then later on in his life be the exact opposite
yeah.
of creativity for that industry.
Yeah, I mean,
So
when I heard the thing about Ford, but man, I think if you really, really look at this, you'll find it in common history of people trying to reinvent themselves and just
sure, yeah.
going down the wrong road, whether it's Howard Hughes or any successful person on the planet, it's like I loved the history of Henry Ford. And the biggest thing that turned Henry Ford from being the person he was to the person he ended up being was he just did not ever believe that the people that he was taking the most care of, which it was his employees, he felt like they didn't appreciate it. He felt like they turned their back on him. So he felt like he was giving them the most money, which he was. He was taking care of these employees. You could get a better job anywhere. They had more benefits. And then there took someone out there that, came up with the concept of the union. And he was going, there's no other company you can work for and get paid more than I'm paying you. There's no one else out there on the planet that's giving you more benefits. And what the fuck do you want? You want more. And he made that negative to himself.
Right.
He just now looked at every employee that decided that they were going to do the union, as turning against him. So then he dedicated the rest of his life to making sure that those fucking people suffered. And I'm going like, what? One fucking thought was these fucking people don't appreciate me and trust me anymore when I've already done all of this.
Well, I think Elon's probably in a similar situation.
It is. I
Yeah.
would say that you hear the shit about Bezos right now. You know what I mean? It's like you got people that are suffering that are employees of his company, and he's going to throw a $660 million wedding. And I think
He was actually building, I saw today, he was building $140 million clock that will last forever in like the Colorado deserts or something like that. And those are the types of things, right? But that's the disconnect that I'm talking about.
Yes.
They're no longer living in that creative space that got them there. They're living in a wealth space that I can kind of make any decisions I want to.
Yeah.
But with that, it's dumb, but with that power comes great responsibility. You know what I mean? And it's like
thank you,
directing that.
What is that?
Yeah,
phrase,
directing
Frank?
that in the right.
To who's giving much is required. And I heard a funny thing about Jeff Bezos just recently. I seen it in an interview, and someone was asking him how he felt about that. The Earth was going to get so bad that that we had to start building civilization on other planets. Listen to this statement. When he said this, I went, "What?" He said, "Oh, no, that's not what I want to do with my rocket program." He goes, "What I want to do is I want to take everything that's on Earth that's polluting our planet and move it to another planet. So if those planets just suck, I want to take my rockets and move industry to these other planets and pollute them to take it away from the United States." I was going like, take it away from Earth. And he's going, so everything that's killing us, my goal is just to ship all our garbage and shit and trash and how we pollute the planet to other planets.
It's like a reverse Wall-E situation. Yeah.
Yes.
Would you say, Matt? I missed it.
It's a reverse Wall-E situation, the Pixar movie Wall-E, where like we end up eventually leaving planet Earth because we just make it so dirty and inhabitable that we have to like live in Dyson spheres, which is another idea that Bezos really wants. Instead of a planetary thing, the next step for him would be to make it like a Dyson sphere, which is like a massive space station that has its own ecosystem and its own
Hasn't that been thought up a couple of times? It's like, just
it's not an original idea,
No. We've had the territorial one, the geosphere that was in Arizona, I believe it was, or out in the desert somewhere between Arizona and California, where they locked people in there for 1 full year with what they consider the necessities to see how well they would survive. So yeah, it's been going on for a while to see whether or not something like this.
Who killed who in that experience?
It just reminds me of that what was that movie? My grandparents used to like this one comedian. And they'd watch his movies all the time, but he's not like I don't know. Most people don't like him, right? He was in some movie where he was like a farmer or something like that. I know this isn't helping you guys at all, so like I'm gonna have to look it up, right?
Comedian as
but he was
in a movie.
Hey,
okay, I know the movie now. Here we go. I just had to connect the dots.
Okay.
The movie was Biodome. The guy was Pauly Shore. There we go. That's the connection.
Well, I think that was the whole idea with the geodesic dome or the geodomes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting to, is that they love this movie Biodome. So I've seen it multiple times with Stephen Baldwin and Pauly Shore, where these two stoner dudes get locked into this biodome with all these scientists, and they have to stay in there for like a year or something like that. So
and
it's
then didn't the stoner dudes end up saving the day?
I think so. I don't remember, but that was the thing, right? Is like they were thinking on their toes,
Yeah, they were getting stoned and getting creative while the math and the science wasn't
they were the Rick Rubin side of the coin, you know what I mean? So like I think you need that, and it's interesting because you'll hear these places like Bohemian Grove or some of these,
Yeah.
you know, secret society type things. You got to like ask yourself like why they exist. And I think in a lot of ways people might have it wrong, like they think that there's some dark shit going there, but I think in a lot of ways they're just trying to recapture that magic that was lost in those creative collaborative areas, right? That they no longer have anymore because they can't, these dudes, men and women, they can't get around each other and not talk about business, politics, and all
Right.
these things. They can't get back to that creative childlike aspect of themselves that can just dream and think of what is next, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to get to that place. So
Wow.
how do you guys get yourselves to that place?
I was saying after the biosphere thing, I'm sort of lost right now. I'm like,
You're wanting to watch Biodome? Well, by the way, it's got 4%
no, I'm trying
on
to
Rotten
figure out a
Tomatoes.
transition for me.
So
No, I mean, I don't know. It's just a matter of, well, it goes back to what we've always been discussing is just taking a lot of what we have in life and do we want to make the change? Do we want to move forward and make a positive change? And I know that Abraham Hicks has always said that let's, just take it one step at a time. You can't stop a car traveling downhill in neutral by stepping in the middle of it if it's, halfway down the hill and
Already got
expect to,
momentum, right?
expect to, change your momentum. You got to either stop it at the beginning or let the momentum carry through and then use that momentum to maybe get yourself to slow it down enough that you can either get off or change direction.
I just get out of the fucking way.
Well, yeah,
pick up the pieces after it hits the wall, you know?
exactly.
My first thought is let that one go. I'm gonna have to run up there and see if I can't stop another one from.
Right.
Are
Like
you
you spend enough.
you really want to go for it again? But then how many people do that?
Oh,
Well, it's like lemmings, right?
Yeah.
Was a really meme out there one time that I seen. It's really crazy how we know in life that we're the path that we're on and what we're currently doing is not going to get us the desired result. But
Ooh,
damn,
you know what? That hits
but
on a
damn it,
quote too.
but damn it,
Yeah.
I got so much money and time invested in this.
Sunken cost fallacy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like damn, this is what I've always done. It's like I don't know how to do anything else, and it's like yeah, but if it's not getting, so the amount of people, I was having a conversation with a guy, just telling him, by the way, that thought of the boat, I know what the bounty.
Unity on the bounty.
Yeah, it was a conversation I've been going back and forth with this new guy I'm building a great relationship with. His name is Michael Bray. So I wanted to quickly give him a shout out. And of course, Michael, that made you watch this video, so pay attention.
If he's like the rest of us, he'll be like, "Oh, this is the part that's about me. I'm gonna listen now." No,
His ears perked up. What?
we all do that. We're like, "Are you wait a minute."
Yeah, he's a veteran. He's a veteran in this industry in direct sales and a great salesperson. And he's one of these people that there's a million thoughts are popping in his head why he shouldn't be building a YouTube channel. So, and I'm telling him, I'm going like, listen, so he shared a few stories with me. He's got a voice like Paul Harvey. And I'm going like, dude, why don't you just tell these stories and put them online? These are freaking amazing stories. And he told me a story about, I think I shared it on the last podcast, where he was saying that his mentor that he learned from had 3 hourglasses. And one was 15 minutes, another one was 30, and another one was an hour. And he's going, the only way I'm going to turn those other hourglasses off is if you get me excited in the first 15 minutes. So
funny.
Tell me whatever idea you have, but it better not be fluff, because when that sand rocks out, your ass is out of here. And I'm just going, oh my God, how do you take an hour conversation or a 2-hour conversation? Or what's the teaser? There used to be another old guy that I knew. I didn't like this guy very much, but you would be talking to him and he would interrupt you. And he's going, stop telling me how to cook the steak. He goes, I want the sizzle. Give me the sizzle. And he would say it exactly that way. He's going, because if you can't make my mouth drool, he says, you're giving me a bunch of facts and figures. You got to make my mouth drool. Give me the sizzle. And I'm going like, I probably haven't said that in fucking 30 years. You know, what's a sizzle? What's a sizzle? So every time I talked to this guy, I was going like, man, I don't even want to talk to him anymore, because it was like, you know, so because he wasn't a great salesperson. He was like one of the best hypesters I've ever fucking met. So that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
He wanted the hype. Give me the hype. Give me the sizzle.
Yeah, direct to my veins type of thing. Yeah. Well, some people are that way, you know. They'll say things like, I don't like the minutia of conversation, or I don't like this or that. Can we just get to the point, or whatever?
A lawyer first. That's one of those emotional effects. It's
you ever work with the federal government?
Jorge Valdez is his name. He lives in Orange County. He was a district, a defense attorney in Orange County. And he walked up to me. He goes, Robert, I got a couple of questions for you. I just need the answers. I don't need this minutia, you know. And I'm going, what are you talking about? He goes, well, I ask you a question, you go into a story. I don't need the fucking story. And I was like, fucking talk to somebody else and get the question.
I'm like, I'll write them down. No, because I'm incapable. No, that's the truth, though. You know, like if you're going into a court and you have to be on stand, right? So if you sit down with the prosecution and you're being coached on that and stuff, it's all yes or no answers. It's all. Yeah. And so, like, you know, someone like me, I elaborate or I go into detail, and they go, stop, like, don't do that. That's not what you're supposed to do.
They're like, Matt, you're gonna lose this case because they'll trick you.
Oh, I elaborated so much I wasn't on the stand. That's no, they didn't need me. That was the truth. But that's a whole nother story.
Oh yeah, it just hit me what story that was.
I know, yeah.
That's pretty crazy, man.
So yeah, so I do think, like, obviously there's different strokes for different folks, right? Like there's different versions of the way that you like information to be processed and the way that you like things to be done. And I just try my best to live in between both those worlds, both the analytical side of my brain, whether you call it left or right brain, whatever you want to say it is, right? And the creative, childlike side of my brain. And it's like, the difficulty is the world wants you to live on the analytical side, like 99.9% of the time.
The world,
like thinking about survival, thinking about where
the way they think you should do them.
And this is the very animal part of our brain. This is the non-human part of our brain. This is the part of our brain that goes, you need to make sure that the threats that are coming, you're prepared for. You need to make sure that the opportunities that exist in the future, you're prepared for. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of this is, I need to make sure my house, my borough, my whatever is safe. The people around me are safe, that I'm fed, that the weather's right, all these different things, right? And this is what the news connects to, because we all share this common thing. It's an animal thing. And so we share that thing of wanting to not fear what's happening, wanting to not be scared. But the problem is the more that we live in that area of our brain, the less we live in the creative, what if consciousness part of our minds that
preach.
That isn't animalistic, right? That we really don't have any answers for. Like all that animalistic stuff that I told you about, there's a million books written that you could read and manipulate a large group of people with. That's how in detail and defined these are. Social media utilizes these things. That's how animalistic they are. And they learn these things by utilizing mice and other things in warehouses and stuff, figuring out how to get this stuff to work. Dopamine, all these things, right? The animal aspects. The part that we don't understand is the consciousness aspect, the creative aspect, right? The what if, where all this shit comes from, how it comes to us, and how it happens.
The imagination part, the frequency,
right? So vibration. How do you get yourself there and at least get it to like an 80-20, right? Or the hopeful aspect is to get it to 50-50, because we all know somebody that lives in such a dreamland that they don't live in reality, right?
Right.
And I believe that you can go too far in that distance too. So it's like,
I've met him.
yes, we all have, right? Right. It's like the idea is enough for them. They don't need and that's the part that the analytical side really helps with, right?
Right.
Is you can have all the ideas in the world, but if you don't implement them, then they're just ideas. It's kind of like telling someone that you're going to lose weight. You've got the dopamine from going, I'm going to lose weight, but you didn't actually do any action to get there.
I bought the shake. It's coming. And
Oh yeah,
I'm
I bought the new routine. Like all those things. You've made the decision, but you haven't made the
I purchased
action.
the
So.
course. I got the DVDs coming. I guess someone would call you a liar now. It's like you
Well, the
just
things that make you do it is the creative aspects, right? Like the
sure.
reason that I'd sit down and learn a bunch of monotonous shit that I'm not interested in a creative aspect instead of just waiting for the creative aspects to get to where I want them to be is because I am excited creatively about the capabilities of what I can accomplish with it, right?
Yep.
So, some people, and I always bring this up, but some people learned to draw, right? And then some people just waited for computer animation to get to the point where they didn't have to learn how to draw,
Right.
right? And some people are going to wait for artificial intelligence to get there, like the guy that you were saying with the stories, right? He's maybe going to wait for a moment in time that he could just sit down and record his voice, and then AI will upload it to YouTube and do the rest.
I told him that we're there. You know what I mean?
We're
I
pretty
told him that.
close.
Yeah, I told him
Yeah.
if he started, he made me a promise that he was going to upload his first YouTube video today, and
Cool.
I
Yeah.
know that he will
Well,
if he
that's the thing. Go back to it. It's a journal. It's not a resume. You're not making YouTube videos to gain a following. You're making YouTube
yeah
videos to write your daily journal on what you're creatively interested in or what you're interested in at the time. Similar to this podcast,
yeah.
right?
When you come from again when you do your best to come from the heart instead of the mind, you know the mind is like I don't know, man. It's like it's a it's a landmine. You know, there's so many
See, I
landmines
think what you
in
were
your
saying,
mind.
the brain and the heart, I think that the heart aspect is what I call like the mind and the brain.
Yeah,
That's the same area where it's like the aspects of your brain is the machine and this is a machine, but your mind is the thing that can push the machine to a place that it didn't know it was capable of going.
right.
Right? Like when you see a fighter fight past or an athlete go past the levels that the machine thinks it can do, you know?
Yeah,
So
and isn't that what they call it? It doesn't make a difference.
got a
You
lot of heart, you know?
Yeah, that guy's
That's
got more heart. You know, it's like
exactly.
who's gonna oppose their will against the other fighter. It's like they're
Hmm.
not talking about skills or muscles or strength. It's like, you know, who's got a you're gonna fucking lose attitude. It's
Right.
like you know, and it's funny, that's what I was talking about, that I know that I've used that muscle a lot, whether it comes from the gut or the heart or the brain. It's I constantly have put myself in situations where I just want to be Kaizen. I just want to I will make 25 better than 24.
Well, I was going
And
to say, you're one of those people without a shadow of a doubt that lives on that 50-50 plane, in my opinion.
oh wow.
Like, because like I think there's been times where I've showed up and been very analytical and you've been very much on the creative side. And then there's times where I show up extremely creative and you lean more on the analytical side and balance me out. So I think
Wow.
that 50-50 base is incredibly important to maintain. And I do think that you're very good at doing that.
I know that I'm really,
From
really
my
good.
experience.
Thank you, Matt. I'll take that compliment. That means a lot. I you know, that one thing that we've heard many, many times is the most dangerous phrase in the world is this is the way it's always been done. I grew up in a world around creative individuals that gave me the latitude to create stuff that's never ever been created. It was fun to always be around a group of people that were always pushing the envelope to find out how to get a tenth of a second, a tenth of the second. You know, where it was like people still don't understand this one phrase is when you see a car that costs $3 million going around the Indianapolis 500, and the driver comes on and he says, we just don't got the speed. That there's only a few people in the world that fucking understand that phrase. So the aerodynamics are where we need them to be. The downforce is where they need to be. The horsepower is creating the horsepower it needs to. The tires are gripping. We can't get the speed. It's like that
Well,
means
maybe it goes back to you with the numbers in your video, right?
yeah,
Like there's
yeah,
aspects that are missing
absolutely.
that we
So
don't quite
now
understand.
so now all the stuff that you learned in school, all the computers, you're watching computers, it's everything is the way it's supposed to be. And the car just won't do past 212. Uh, fuck. Now you got to tap into that part of your brain that an AI might have difficulty with.
Well, the movie
It's
Ford
like,
v Ferrari was exactly that way. Let's see
oh,
how far we can push. Okay, we're going to the cars again, but still, it's a great example. Let's see how far we can push the GT40 so much that we can break this. And how many times in the movie did he encounter people saying, it can't be done. You
yeah,
can't go faster. No, the guy driving the car and the creator, Shelby, knew that it could. It's a matter of, okay, what are the conditions? When can we do it? Or if you want to say the movie Avatar, when it was created, originally it was created 10 years before it actually first came out. It's just that James Cameron didn't have the right elements in the right place at the right time to produce the movie so that it would come out as spectacular as it did.
Yeah, I not to put myself in an exciting space, but I feel like I'm in the same spot with a few
yeah,
things. So it's
yeah.
like similarly where it's like, oh
You're
shit, I
you're
don't.
you're allowing stuff to come to
I just
you.
feel like I've said this before, but I just feel like we're on the precipice of the printing press for movies and for visual mediums, which to think that that is about to exist and there's really not going to be any gatekeepers gets me so excited. Like
Right.
I can't even tell you guys because there's a million things that would stop Avatar from being made, right? If James Cameron wasn't James Cameron, right? Like
Exactly.
never would have got the money or
There,
never would have.
there, there,
It's
there's
you
where
have
we're
to
talking
build.
that the wheel again.
And
The
if
wheel.
Avatar
Yeah.
didn't do well, there wouldn't be an Avatar 2, regardless of
Yeah.
how much James Cameron loved it. You know what I mean?
I was inside.
So
We're going way back to the mastermind of the science of getting rich when they're talking about
mm,
Exactly.
the power of the will. It's like I'm
right,
and that's me. I've never ever thought when I want to make something happen in my life, and I know that it's just the power of numbers. You know what I mean? And I still believe that there's quite a few people out there that I can inspire to get their imagination to kick into gear. And once they step into that, it's like then that's where the magic is. The magic is
right.
all right there. The imagination is all right there. And it's cool when every performance that Craig has ever did was in somebody else's imagination when they created the scripts, the writing, what the set should look like, everything. I just
It's a
love seeing
culmination
that.
of a
And
lot of people's creativity. Yeah,
and then the director himself puts his own stamp on it to add more to it because and that's where a lot more of the creativity just because somebody put it on paper. I mean, how many movies have we seen where the actors improvised something that
Right.
just became so iconic? A classic example is the trailer that was used for Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. The guy, Harrison Ford was not feeling well. And it's the scene where he faces off with this guy who's got this big, huge bullwhip in his hand, and he's ready to just, snap Harrison Ford's head off. And Harrison Ford just goes, "Oh, the hell with it." He pulls out his gun and shoots the guy. The guy responds properly, falls down. It's one of the best scenes and trailers that has ever come out of that whole series.
Yeah. It's
yep.
a I heard another one you guys know watch. I love watching Sunday Morning. It's just such a cool show because there's so many positives on it. And this guy went through the whole documentation of the story of where the song Hallelujah came from, so and it was like apparently the guy that wrote it like did it in record time. It ended up being like 3 hours long, but no one wanted to do the song because this guy was a nobody. So he went to somebody that was a somebody of that time, and said, why don't you put your co-writing on this and we can get this song and going. And the guy read it and he said, Dad, to be brutally honest with you, I think it's the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen.
Jesus.
And so the guy that knows everything, so he goes, well, we'll see what happens. It's the oldest performing song in the world. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
So the guy was like, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. And I was going like, my mind, to show you how crazy I get, is I went on AI immediately and I went, what word is repeated the most in any song? And it wasn't that one. It was a Rihanna song. All you gotta do is work, 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 work. Work, 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 work,
Yep.
work, 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 work. Everybody got to work, 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 work.
Maybe she was going for the record or something.
I bet she's.
I mean, if you know it exists, it's like The Wolf of Wall Street has the most F words out of any film. And then if you, yeah, The Wolf of Wall Street has the most fucks out of any film.
Really?
Wow.
Yes. And if you looked up the films that were before it that had the most, those are also Martin Scorsese films. He's beaten his own record.
Okay, that's a person I would have said.
And
yeah,
get this,
he
they
will do
did
that.
it in Wolf of Wall Street and they didn't have Joe Pesci. So can you believe that?
God, yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to sign off.
I think so too.
Yeah.
This has been great,
but-
you guys. Thank you so much.
Well, when we come from our heart, it's just tell everybody how we're feeling.
It's crazy
I'm
think.
excited. I'm freaking excited for 2025.
I was gonna say, let's end this with what we're most excited about for next year, because this is the last one we're doing for the year. So, Dad, you want to take it or you want to end it?
No,
Craig, how about you take it and he'll end it?
Okay, that sounds good. No, I'm just excited. A lot of things have been building up over the last, couple months, and things are starting to. If you focus on, well, I don't want to say if you focus on the negative. If you just do what you feel is good, and get it done, and continue in that feeling, things are going to start to happen. And keeping it moving is what I want to do. And moving in the right direction, moving the direction of the things that I want to have happen. And so I want 2025. I mean, yes, for us as a group, for, Matt, for Robert and everything like that. I want all of us
and
to
the people
be
we
successful and the people that we love. Exactly. And, that's mostly it. I see, and I know I talked about it earlier. We're coming to the end of the year. It's a reset that is coming, we've all accepted as a universal reset, at least here on Earth. Now, where it happens elsewhere in the universe, who knows?
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Different years over there.
Yeah. But, it's a point in the sand, a point in time.
Yeah.
So why not take this point in time, move forward, and do the best that we possibly can? And that's what I'm looking for in 2025, spiritually, financially, humanistically.
Cool. I love that, man.
I love that too, Craig. Thank you for sharing that. Like for me, I think that 2025, especially in hindsight, like years later, will probably be one of the most fundamental and important years in my entire life. Like I know that. I feel like for the last, I don't know, more than a decade of my life, I've been preparing for next year. And so like in multiple different areas, some of them I've shared and some of them I can't yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2025 will be the best year without a shadow of a doubt in my life. And creatively, I'm hopeful and optimistic that it will be the most productive I'll be. And personally, I think it'll be the best year of my life personally too. So
Cool.
I'm very excited about it. And then I'm also excited to see my parents. My parents are coming to visit us. And I haven't seen them in a while in person. So that's
Craig, we'll make sure
coming up. So
to find a night to break some
we were
bread.
just talking. We were just talking about
Oh.
that before you got
That
on.
would be
so.
awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you
Absolutely.
guys. And just
I
face
hope
to
you
face.
and
Not that this isn't, but in person.
It's
I hope
different, you know.
I hope
Get
you
those
and
hugs
Sue
out.
like I hope you and Sue like Javier's, because that's
Yes.
where we have the Hollis organization corporate meeting.
There we go. That sounds great to me.
Yeah, planning in 2025.
The meeting has to happen in the first 15 to 20 minutes before the margarita. We're on the second set of margarita. Javier's margaritas.
Yes, exactly. And then forget it. If we are lucky, we may think about putting a tape recorder in the middle of it, but I doubt it.
No.
It's funny you said tape recorder, and I was immediately like,
I know.
oh,
I realized what I'd said. I went, just roll with it. Just go with it.
Did they make such a thing? No. It was like, the reason there's this crazy thing that I see happening in the world right now that's really, really exciting for me. And it's one of those things where all of a sudden, everyone just seems to be looking in the same direction. Of course, we hear some tragedies like 9/11 or something like that really forces the world, or at least the United States, to all look in one direction, good or bad. I think that's what's really happening right now is even just the thought of, Hanukkah and Christmas landing in the same days, and then you find out that was 15, it happens every 15 years. And then all of a sudden, people that have to do with planets are talking about that the planets are doing this thing for the first, 20 years. And then all of a sudden, this weirdness with religion, that apparently there's some books that rest of us don't know about, that the Pope gets to read and no one else knows what's going on. But I don't know if you guys heard this with Catholicism, that there was some door that's been shut forever, that the Pope in his wheelchair went up and opened up this door. And it was supposed to be the next door to the next chapter. And you actually can go online right now and see what's on the other side of this door. And you're just like going, pardon my language, are you fucking kidding me? So I guess every once in a while, through whatever's ordained through the Pope, that they open up this door and they allow the rest of the world to see this other part of the Vatican. And I guess when you see it, it's like everything else that you've ever seen is nothing like this.
The Jubilee Holy Door.
The Jubilee Holy Door. And what does it open up like every 25 years or something?
Yeah, I don't know about that. 20 years.
But if you guys go online and just say, I want to see what's behind this door, it's like, the art and the statues and all this stuff that just is behind this door, that for whatever reason that's now supposed to be. So for the religious people that are really out there, it really means a lot of other things happen during this time. But again, when you sort of look at the world right now, and instead of everyone fighting, it even seems, I brought this up the other day, it seems like the people that are the biggest haters on both sides, for just a moment, are going, this is interesting. Let's see what happens here. But it's not in everything's power to try to stop it from happening. It's like seems to be this little sliver of optimism where people are looking around and going, one of the wealthiest and the smartest people on the planet ever been in charge of anything. Oh, that could be super scary. Oh, that could be fucking pretty awesome. And then the optimism of AI. This could be really fucking scary, or this could be
Can't
really
forget about the
fucking
aliens
awesome.
too. Like we got AGI will probably happen in 2025. Not probably, it will happen. So we'll hit a point, which we've technically already have with AI, where it's like, we don't really know how it's self-improving at this point. And the bottleneck is compute power. So it's like you have a brain that's smart, going back to the machine thing. You have a brain that's incredibly smart, smarter than every person on the planet combined. But it's in a wheelchair, or it's in a body that it can't run, it can't do what it needs to do. So we have to build over 2025, we have to build that body so it can run the programs and run the things that we want,
The quantum
right?
computers that don't need energy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Exactly. And so we have a lot of these things happening, and then all of a sudden, we have like the government telling us that they don't really know what the hell all the shit happening with the drones and all these things are happening. Now my mind immediately goes, they're just doing drills, but I dip between the analytical and the creative. I try to stay in that 50-50 and
of
go,
course.
do I believe that there's other life out there? A million percent. So
Well,
maybe.
I just don't know why no one ever calls AI the other thing that everyone's been thinking about. It is pretty interesting. They
Well, I think we're not at that point yet because we've taught it in our own language.
yeah,
So when it reaches AGI and eventually is in that place where it is in that quantum computing realm, like every computer talks in zeros and ones, including to themselves, but we as human beings have translated that language into things that we understand. AI is going to communicate in the same way, except we won't have written the language that it speaks in. So because of that, we won't really understand the language. We'll have to
they don't need
rely
they
on
don't
it
need
to do the
a
translations for us
they
to
don't
understand
need
it.
they don't need a billion translations to one word that all of us have a different meaning to. That just the
I mean, it
communication.
might. We
Yeah,
don't know.
but no, I'm
The
like we were
complexities
talking
of it
about.
could be more complex than any language we've ever come up with. And
Yeah,
that could make it almost impossible for us to ever decipher it. It's like when you see a cipher and they go, no human has been able to figure out this cipher for 100,000 years. They can't
yeah,
solve it, but AI has, or whatever. It's stuff like that. It's
yeah.
like, okay, a human mind came up with that cipher, but no other human being could except AI could. That's going to be the exact same situation. There'll be a
Yeah.
million. Well, we'll go, hey, here's the cure for cancer. Well, how does that work? Never going to understand how it works. We just know
Kind of
that it
explain it.
works.
Kind of explain
Right.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm excited about 2025.
Yeah, me
I
too.
just I'm really excited because I feel like the people that watch this video either live or recorded, it's going to be fun for us to go back to it, maybe a year from now and sort of see,
Oh
you
man, I would love to.
there's a lot of people out there that have shows that sort of go, okay, I'm making some predictions in 2025. And here's one prediction that I can guarantee will happen in 2025 is the people that are excited and optimistic about changing, not only with what's going to happen, but themselves, to not be one of these people that are concrete sequential thinkers that go, I'm not willing to change. I'm not going to accept any change and fuck change. I want it to stay the way it is.
Yeah.
I see as like going from the speed of sound to the speed of light, that we're going into a year where it's going to really leave a lot of fucking people behind. It's not going to be like,
Worst time to be wearing iron shoes in the
yeah,
history of the world. Yeah.
it's not going to be like the last 10 years where people that are saying, well, I guess I'll finally get a phone and get connected to the internet. It's not going to be that kind of warp speed. It's going to be 10 times that warp speed. So
Right.
the people that are the people that are accepting and optimistic and not judgmental in every area of their life, and they're willing to accept change and be a part of the change instead of wanting to fight it and go against change. It's I really see 2025 as a bigger gap between the have and the have-nots. It,
Definitely.
it's not even going to be a small blur. You know what I mean? It's just going to be, quantum. It's going to be quantum where a lot of things that I always thought of that I wanted to accomplish, and that's going to be including me. Matt tells me some stuff about, what are you going to do when you wake up and you don't need money? I'm
Yeah.
brutally honest. I haven't got to that part of my imagination yet. You know, I still believe that I'll be trying to find ways to tap into people's imagination, inspire them to put in their imagination. But when it's about, being fulfilled and happy and healthy instead of you need to make money to get away from your job, it's gonna be fun. So
Hmm.
that's my closing words is like,
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
I
gonna go ahead.
well, no, I finished, Dad. Sorry.
No, I'm really done.
Oh,
It's
I
like
was just gonna show this just to end it because it's funny, right? So we talk about being left behind and exponential growth. Craig can put me as the focus here. This is
Yeah.
26 days ago. This person on Reddit said, "Tech is obviously not exponential. If it was, AGI would already be here." And then this guy's like, "It's actually hyper exponential. Educate yourself and don't parrot out prejudice built on incomplete and false information." And then this dude was like, "Hyper exponential, laughing my ass off," right? This was 3 months ago, '01 preview, and then this was '03 as far as the AGI score and artificial intelligence in general. So in the span of 3 months, talking about exponential growth, we went from maybe as smart as a high school student to smarter than every person with a PhD in 3 months. Now, when you ask yourself what happens in the next 3 months, this graph no longer exists.
yeah,
So that is why I'm so excited. Is we're in a realm where we can't even graph it anymore.
right.
So
or
the things that will happen next year
or one
are
of the
great.
things,
So
yeah, one of the things you said to me, Matt, is when AI is got into a place where the smartest people on the planet don't know how to test it.
yep.
When I heard that phrase, and another one that I got to give Jeff Bezos, credit. He goes, people keep saying that this is going to be bigger than the internet. No, it's bigger than the electricity.
Yeah, it
And I
is.
went, fuck, that is another leap. That is another total
Well,
leap.
people don't realize it's like, and I'll talk more about this tomorrow, but people don't realize this is the culmination of every human creation. Is that's like and that's why it's humanity's like last invention. Every invention that's happened up to this point was utilized to train the artificial intelligence that you see here. Every book that was written, every painting that was painted that was good, all of that shit was training data to train this to then take us to the next frontier of where we're supposed to go. And so it's really it's the invention of all of us together.
Well, the
If you made a
chart that you
YouTube
just
video,
showed,
odds are it was trained on one of your YouTube
yeah,
videos,
the,
you
the,
know?
the chart
So,
that you just showed is the key thing that the guy said that owns NVIDIA, the guy that started NVIDIA.
right.
And when he said this statement, they went, well, we seen the growth of chips constantly doing the same amount of growth. And then when it did that chart, just like AI, people go, we can't comprehend why a chip would grow that fast in speed. And he said, well, because AI created it. Humans didn't create it. We
Right.
trained AI to come up with the concept of this new chip. And I went, fuck.
Yeah, it's going to be everything next year. Like that's why I'm so excited is it's like imagine people that struggle with MS or all these other issues, health medical issues that are going to just watch the next year breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough happen, and some of them are already starting to come to fruition now.
Right.
They found out the other day this drug that they use for cancer causes vibrations in the human body to such a point that if you just keep taking it, it stops the cancer from reproducing. And it's like a drug we've used for the last couple of years. And now here's the fun part about it. Already FDA approved, already been utilized. We just similar to like Ozempic for weight loss. We had just been using it for a whole nother thing this whole time that we didn't realize we could have been using it in another way, in another direction.
And
Now you
talking
use
about
Viagra
frequent,
as another
yeah,
example, but like,
yeah, yeah.
right?
I
There's many
the,
pills and many things that have existed through history that were
right,
used for one thing that then we found out was perfect for something else. So,
right. There was a guy just, and then we'll jump off of here. But
yeah.
there was when someone, we talked about Henry Ford pushing the creative engineers to come up with the V8 engine
Hmm.
because of weight and space, right? Believe it or not, there's when a motor blows up, they can tell before when a motor is going to blow up, and it creates a harmonic vibration within itself. It tears itself apart. And so to think that these engineers are now getting so smart that they build an engine, they put it on the dyno, they're not just looking for horsepower. They're seeing if it has any part of this harmonic vibration in it. And if it is, they just trash it. There's no reason to put it in a fucking race car. Is that crazy? So you put the whole thing together, and when it picks up this certain RPM, and as it's spinning faster and faster, if there's a part of the air RPM where all of a sudden they hear, it's just this little thing in there that causes this harmonic vibration within the motor of 8 cylinders blowing up explosions inside of itself, a combustible engine. And now someone fucking got smart enough, and we knew that about drive shafts. So drive shafts in a vehicle, if it has a harmonic balance, it will destroy the fucking car. Just a harmonic hum, and that little hum will destroy.
It goes back to
metal.
that momentum thing. It's like you can throw something small in a washing machine, and it could destroy the whole washing machine if it's heavy enough. You know what I mean?
So a lot of stuff that we don't know, that we don't understand, that now AI is going to go, that's simple.
Yeah. I was going to say one last thing with AI. If someone's giving you advice right now, even if they're in the AI industry about what to do, they're wrong. Just don't listen. Do what you want to do, because no one fucking knows what's going to happen. And so from the tippity top all the way down, people really don't know what's going to happen over the next year. So it's best just to live in that creative world and think of what you'd like to do. So
hey, people still can't predict the weather. You know what I mean? I just think it's so.
That's one thing AI is going to make it a lot easier to do. Be funny if it still got that wrong.
Well,
yeah,
I love you guys. I love you guys. Craig, sign us out. That's cool. All
right, gentlemen. Thank you.
We still don't know. We end up leaving where we don't know that we don't know. There we go.
Exactly. Let's let them make their decision. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us. You can follow Robert Hollis at roberthollis.com. Also, if you'd like to join our exclusive community, go to roberthollis.com/video to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's going to be lots of great content there, and you'll be able to participate in our special events like Unlimited Wisdom, like Ask Me Anything, and whatever else we have planned for 2025. Nice. We look forward to that. Please don't forget to like and share this video on YouTube and with others. It will help us grow our community and reach out to those with ears that hear. Thank you again, and shout out to our executive producer and visionaire, Matt Hollis. Matt, bless you. Thank you. And of course, Robert, amazing, amazing. And thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us today on Unlimited Wisdom. We look forward to seeing you next year, because we can say that when we do our next
a day after Wisdom. Matt's birthday. No,
yeah, 33
on Matt's birthday.
Oh, there you go. 33, big day, big day. 333.
333.
I'm born on the 3rd, so.
All right. And thank you for joining us. I'm Craig Jackman. Please be good to yourself. Be cash. And until next time, bye for now.
See you guys. Thank you so much. Love and appreciate you.
Love you. Love you. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Matt.